Okay, I'm going to read from the Private Oral Exam Guide for Sport and Private Pilot Certification. Interesting. All right, we're going to go in Chapter 1, Certificates and Documents. All right. What are the eligibility requirements for a private pilot airplane certificate? 14 CFR 61. Be at least 17 years of age, be able to read, speak, write, and understand the English language, hold a U.S. student pilot certificate, sport pilot certificate, or recreational pilot certificate, hold at least a current third-class medical certificate, receive the required ground and flight training endorsements, meet the applicable aeronautical experience requirements, pass the required knowledge and practical test. Privileges and limitations. What privileges and limitations apply to a private pilot? 14 CFR 61. No person who holds a private pilot certificate may act as a pilot in command of an aircraft that is carrying passengers or property for compensation or hire, nor may that person for compensation or hire act as pilot in command of an aircraft. A private pilot may act as a pilot in command of an aircraft in connection with any business or employment if it is only incidental to that business or employment and does not carry passengers or property for compensation or hire. May not pay less than the pro rata share of the operating expenses of a flight with passengers, provided the expenses involve only fuel, oil, airport expenditures, or rental fees. May act as pilot in command of a charitable, nonprofit, or community event flight described in 14 CFR 91.146 if the sponsor and pilot comply with the requirements of that regulation. A private pilot may be reimbursed for aircraft operating expenses that are directly related to search and location operations, provided the expenses involve only fuel, oil, airport expenditures, or rental fees, and the operation is sanctioned and under the direction and control of local, state, or federal agencies or organizations that conduct search and location operations. May demonstrate an aircraft in flight to a prospective buyer if the private pilot is an aircraft salesman and has at least 200 hours of logged flight time. Private pilot may act as pilot in command of aircraft towing a glider or unpowered ultralight vehicle, provided they meet the requirements of 14 CFR 61.69. May act as a pilot in command for the purpose of conducting a production flight test in a light sport aircraft intended for certification in the light sport category, provided they meet the requirements of 14 CFR 61.113. All right. To act, this would be 2. To act as a required pilot flight crew member of a civil aircraft, what must the private pilot have in his or her physical position or readily accessible in the aircraft? 14 CFR 61.3. They must have a pilot certificate or special purpose pilot authorization, photo identification, and a medical certificate, with certain exceptions as provided in 14 CFR 61.3. What is the definition of a high-performance airplane, and what must you do to act as pilot in command of such an airplane? A high-performance airplane is an airplane with an engine of more than 200 horsepower. To act as pilot in command of a high-performance airplane, you must have a received and logged ground and flight training from an authorized flight instructor in a high-performance airplane or in a flight simulator or a flight training device that is representative of a high-performance airplane and have been found proficient in the operation systems of that airplane. Received and logged a one-time endorsement in your logbook from an authorized instructor who certifies you are proficient to operate a high-performance airplane. Note, the training and endorsement required by this regulation is not required if the person has logged flight time as pilot in command of a high-performance airplane or in a flight simulator or a flight training device that is representative of a high-performance airplane prior to August 4th, 1997. 4. Other than high-performance and complex aircraft, what other types of aircraft require specific training and logbook endorsements from an appropriately rated flight instructor? High-altitude airplane. No person may act as a pilot in command of a pressurized airplane that has a service ceiling of maximum operating altitude, whichever is lower, above 25,000 feet MSL, unless that person has completed the ground and flight training specified and has received a logbook or training record endorsement from an authorized instructor certifying satisfactory completion of the training. Tailwheel airplane. No person may act as a pilot in command of a tailwheel airplane unless that pilot has received flight instruction from an authorized flight instructor who has found the pilot competent to operate a tailwheel airplane and has made a one-time endorsement so stating in the pilot's logbook. The endorsement is not required if a pilot has logged flight time as a pilot in command of tailwheel airplanes prior to April 15, 1991. Number 5, what is the definition of a complex airplane and what must you do to act as pilot in command of such an airplane? A complex airplane is defined as an airplane that has a retractable landing gear, flaps, and controllable pitch propeller, including airplanes equipped with a full authority digital engine control, a FADEC. To act as pilot in command of such an airplane, you must have received and logged ground and flight training from an authorized flight instructor in a complex airplane or in a flight simulator or flight training device that is representative of a complex airplane and have been found proficient in the operation and systems of that airplane. Received a one-time endorsement in your logbook from an authorized instructor who certifies you are proficient to operate a complex airplane. Note, the training endorsement required by this regulation is not required if the person has logged flight time as a pilot in command of a complex airplane or a flight simulator or a flight training device that is representative of a complex airplane prior to August 4th, 1997. Number 6. With respect to certification, privileges, and limitations of airmen, define the terms category, class, and type. Category. A broad classification of aircraft is airplane, rotorcraft, glider, etc. Class. A classification of aircraft within a category having similar operating characteristics, single-engine land, multi-engine land, etc. Type. A specific make and basic model of aircraft includes modifications that do not change its handling or flight characteristics. Be DC-9, B-737, C-150, etc. Cessna 150, Cessna 172. All right. So we're going to hold off there. That was Chapter 1, Certificates and Documents. So it's 1 through 5, A and B. The next one will be courtesy requirements. All right. See ya.